We are building a brand, which is very obvious from what we do. 51T is what we called it for a multitude of reasons. But we're building a brand based on quality, and it has to be. So if it's not quality products, we simply won't get involved with it. There's no point. There's no point being the people that do what everyone else does as well. So if somebody else already makes it and it's great, well, we won't make it. But it isn't, so we do.
The reason we use 51T products is the ability to have the flexibility within the products that we use, and they create stuff. You know, you go and you ask them something and you want something, they just deliver. They go out, they come back, what about this? There's a solution always for you, and their flexibility is second to none.
The original or the OEM products that you get out there, or some of the competitor products, aren't modular. They're a one-piece unit, or they're milled out of a piece of plastic, or they're glued together. So once it's broken, and they're considered consumable, disposable. We decided that that wasn't an option. People are spending a lot of money on these things, a lot of money on the device, a lot of money on the kit that goes with it. So by virtue of that, we wanted something that was fixable and modular, so everything had to be. So these things are bolted together as opposed to glued. Everything's designed to be, as I said, modular. You can take the piece apart and put a new PCB in there should the pins actually fail, which is about 1% failure if that. And even down to the SIG plugs that charge them. They're plug in at the back on a connector, and the SIG plug itself is interchangeable. The idea is to keep every single aspect within its individual component parts, so you can build whatever it is you want it to be and reuse parts. So you can reuse the mounting, you can reuse the SIG plug, you can reuse if you have a hardwired solution plugged in. They originally started off as a vehicle cradle, so it's sit on the dashboard, you put your device in it, plug it into your SIG plug, and away you go. But when you get back to your depot of an evening, the device still needs charging, because these are trickle chargers from a vehicle, not enough to run a device. So we started to put these in banks of 4, because 4 bay was the norm. Actually, it turned out we did 5 bays and 6 bays as well now, but nonetheless, we put them in a bank of 4 and you'd have them in a line. The benefit to that would be you could also have a mixed estate or mixed brand. So you could have brand A, brand B, brand C, have different chargers for different devices, but all on the same sort of backplane, on the same holder, if you will. And then we took that further and put them into, from being on a 4 bay to being 3 4 bays in a drawer, and then 4 4 bays in a drawer, and then 4 5 bays in a drawer, and so on within the cabinets. And the idea there is that you can have a cabinet where it charges multiple devices. We can do about 120 is the most we've done so far, although with the phones on the newer things we're looking to get to about 150 180 in a cabinet, whereas the competition can do 36 46. So it's always constantly about what can we do better, what can we do more of, what can we expand into, and how can we get more out of what we've already got. So some of our clients are now looking to change their devices, but they don't have to change the cabinets, they don't have to change the charge rails, all they have to do is change the cradle on the front. And in some respects that's great, in others it means that they can change the device and they can change the way that they manage the device as well. So yeah, it's gone for a long way from being a cradle in a vehicle, that's for sure. We get things sent back every day. We have a production facility and we also have a repair facility. Kit comes in. When it comes in, we have a turnaround time of about 5 days. But the point is we report back to every customer what we've done. So we don't just say, oh, we fixed this or we fixed that. We give them a list. If we know who they are, we don't always know who the end user is. We might be through a reseller. But if we're told it's for everything's for a certain account, we can say, this, your estate looks like, on the basis of what's happened. So if we notice that there's a high failure rate on the cheeks, then we can do something about that. If we notice the PCB, we can do something about that. We can always do something about where something is failing. And it sounds bad to be promoting the fact that we can repair something and it's failing, but by the very nature of the industry we operate in, post, parcel and transport and logistics, these guys, the guys that are delivering parcels, are heavy-handed. They're in and out of the vehicle sometimes 120 times a day. The very nature of that, I mean, these pins alone, we use an American brand that are tested for about 1 million insertions, whereas some of the OEMs certainly don't do that. cabinets, they came about because of the vehicle charger was one solution. And it became very apparent that you can have a multi-bay charger, so you can have 4 chargers in a row. But that in itself led to desks being full of chargers, more and more and more. And then you need a wall full of sockets to plug these things in. You'd have to have extension leads all over the place. And whilst it's great to be able to charge 4 things off one plug, you still need 4 things off one plug, so you got 8 off a double socket. It wasn't a solution. It didn't fix anything. All it meant was people were putting plug sockets all over walls. And we went to one place and they had about 80 sockets lined up and chargers all over the desk, and there was wires everywhere. It was appalling. So we had to come up with something. And what we did was we built a cabinet. So the cabinet would have a number of drawers, and each drawer would be able to hold 4 or 5 4-bays, or in this case, as we moved on, 5 bays as devices got smaller. And the idea is you can plug one socket in the wall and charge up to soon 180 devices from one socket. Yes, it is dependent on what voltages and ampages and such like, but that's how it came to be. We put the slidey drawers in because you could fit more. So, you know, some of our competitors have got them fixed positions, which is whilst it works, doesn't allow you to have that many devices. The cabinets themselves have developed and evolved. They now have multiple rails and runners to stop rail breakages, and reinforcement, drawer stoppers. They're on wheels themselves. And just this morning I was speaking to one of our biggest clients, one of the biggest detailers in the world, and their answer was, we didn't want any more cabinets because they're not cheap. They're not dear, but they're not cheap. And now suddenly we do, because it costs less to use a cabinet to charge things. And because when you move your building around, you're still not sure how your operation is going to run. You just roll the cabinet from one side of the building to another. Whereas if it's plug sockets, you've got to get an electrician in to do it again and again and again and again. At the deregulation of the Royal Mail, where couriers started downstream access into post-parcel operations, last mile being serviced by Royal Mail, couriers had to be able to print Royal Mail bag labels themselves. So we had this large format printer approved by RMG, and then happy days, our customer could print bag labels.
When we went into the mail industry and delivery side, there was nothing around. So we sat down with 51T, spoke about what we needed. They came up with this mobile station that we could use, and it's just grown from there, and it's now a vital part of what we use within the network.
We have these that are now push drones pick and pack stations. There's one client in particular who sell, or via resellers, they sell valves and pipe work, and they're heavily dependent on them. They literally use them to sort the stock and what they're going to be doing, print the labels to ship them or to stock them, and they go from there. It's expanded onwards and upwards. We now do another one called Betsy, or Betsy 3 as we call her. She's only about so wide, quite long, where she has a removable battery. You can put laptops inside, you can put PC in there, you can put printers on it, you can put scanners, you can put all manner of things on. The idea is that people can use these for multiple different jobs. Some people are using the Betsy's as just a PC station, literally a PC sat on a shelf, or a printer sat on a shelf, and a PC in the base, and it's just a PC on wheels. But it allows them to work in different places around their operation. Built a team together of 20 odd people now, 28, who do different jobs within the remit of what this is, be it the repair centre, be it the R&D team. It certainly wouldn't be where it was now without the people around it. The guys, I once was told, it's very hard to hide mediocre in a small company, and we're a small company, so we don't have mediocre.